So my name is Mr. Wyrick, and today we're going to be going over this chapter for review. I'll try to make it quick. We may skip over a couple of them. We are going to classify some triangles. There are questions like this on the test. It's multiple choice, so you just have to make the best decision here. None of these sides are the same length. So this is a scalene triangle. However, there's also not like two angles that are indicated to be the same. And there's no right angle. This, if we pull up the corner of the page, is going to be slightly bigger than 90 degrees. That's an obtuse angle, so this is an obtuse scalene triangle. On the second one, we have two marks like this. So this is going to be acute. All of the angles are going to be acute, and it's isosceles. The third one, judging by angles, this is a right triangle, but none of the sides are marked the same, so this is also going to be scalene. And then on the last one, there are little hash marks on all three of the angles. That means this is equilateral. They don't typically put both equilateral and equiangular. But any equilateral triangle would be also equiangular, so you do have to be aware of that. On number two, what is the value of x if ABC is equilateral? We just have to pick two of these and set them equal to each other. I'm going to avoid the 7.5 because I don't want to work with decimals. 10x minus 5 equals 6x plus 3. I subtract 6x. I get 4x minus 5 is equal to 3. I add 5. I get 4x is equal to 8. So when I divide by 4, I get x is equal to 2. Now the next question ties back to the exact same thing. It's what is the length of each side. On this one I can use the 7.5. 7.5 times 2 is 15. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 3 is 15. 10 times 2 is 20 minus 5 is 15. So each side should be 15. On number 4, what is the value of x if triangle CAB is an isosceles where BC is equal to BA? This is something that we haven't talked about as much as I would have liked. If it's an isosceles triangle and these two sides are congruent, that means that the angles across from them are also congruent. So we just say 4x plus 5 equals 5x minus 10. We subtract 4x, we add 10, and we get x is equal to 15. Then it says, what is the measure of angle A? Well, 15 times 5 is going to be 75, and 75 minus 10 is 65. Then it tries to get tricky with us and says, what's the measure of angle B? B is up here. It's not going to be one of the ones that's equal, but all of the angles of a triangle are always going to add up to 180. The other two angles are both 65-degree angles. So if we add them together, that's 130. So we take 180 and we subtract 130. That's a 50-degree angle, so that we can come up to 180. On this one, the measure of angle 2, the measure of angle 1, the measure of angle 4, the measure of angle 3. The first one I would do is the measure of angle 1 because these are vertical angles. The measure of angle 1 is 60. It's pretty quick find. The measure of angle 2, all of the triangle is going to add up to 180. So 180 minus 70 is 110. Then we subtract the 60 for angle 1 here, and we get 50 left over. That means angle 2 is 50. The measure of angle 4 is the same as these two angles added together because 4 is that exterior angle. 60 and 40 makes 100. The measure of angle 3 you could find two different ways, because all three angles in a triangle are going to add up to 180, or this is a straight line angle, and these two angles will add up to 180. So it's 80, because that's what we've got left out of 180. On the next page, on number 11, I do believe there's one like this on the test. It's an exterior angle. So like we just talked about, we're adding these two together and it will equal that. That's 39 plus 12x minus 4 is equal to 21x minus 1. This is 12x plus 35 is equal to 21x minus 1. I subtract 12x, subtract 12x, I add 1, I add 1. That gives me 9x is equal to 36, so x is equal to 4. On this one over here, the exact same thing's going on. 7x plus 4 plus 70 is equal to 16x plus 2. It's helpful to go ahead and add these together to get a slightly smaller equation. So you get 7x, bless you, plus 74 is equal to 16x plus 2. I subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 7x, subtract 7x. I get 72 is equal to 9x, divide by 9, and x is equal to 8. Now normally I'd break this down into two separate steps, but I'm just trying to conserve some space, make the video go a little bit shorter here. I can go back over this more slowly if we need to. On number 13, we just know that all three of these angles together, since it's inside of the triangle, are going to add together to make 180. So this is x plus 69 plus 51 plus x plus 76 equals 180. So I've got x and x. Those are like terms. They're not on opposite sides of the equal sign, so I'm not going to try to like subtract one from the other. I just put them together. They're on the same side. That's 2x. 69 and 51 are going to add together to make 120. And then 120 plus 76 is going to be 196. So 2x plus 196 is equal to 180. I subtract 196, subtract 196. That's 2x is equal to a negative 16. Divide by 2, and I get x equals a negative 8. This is perfectly fine, but it does pay to go back in and look and make sure that none of your angles are coming up negative. It's okay to have an x value that's negative. It's not okay to have a negative angle measure. So if any one of them is going to make a negative angle measure, you can always leave it off of the possible answers on that one. On 14, it's going to be the same thing. I like to start with a head start on these and not worry about putting the 90 in there. 180 minus 90 is just 90. So I'm just going to say x plus 58 plus 48 plus x is equal to 90. Because again, this is 90, 180 minus 90 will let us start with just the other 90. So this is, again, they're on the same side. It's just combining like terms. X plus x is 2x. 58 plus 48 is going to give me 106. So that's 106 is equal to 90. I subtract 106, subtract 106. That's going to be 2x is equal to a negative 16. I divide by 2. X again equals negative 8. If you get stuck on some of these things, make sure you use the calculator. I'm going to make sure to get the calculators back today so that we'll have them in the classroom for this. For 15, 16, 17, use the following picture. What is the triangle congruence statement for these triangles? The important thing here is to make sure that you go in the same direction according to how it's set up. I'm going to go down line 1, then down line 3, then back up here, up line 2. So I need to go down line 1, then down line 3, and then back up line 2. So it's going to be ABE, triangle ABE, is congruent to triangle CBD. Now, these could be mixed in the order that they are shown. I know there's at least one question that asks about this. Just make sure it's going in the right direction. It's always going to have the same letters. There's not even any other letters up there for me to throw in, but they've got to be going in the correct direction and the same one for both of them. What are the congruent angles for the triangles? Angle A is going to be congruent to angle C. Again, like these letters should match up. So angle E is going to be congruent to angle D. I don't even need the picture. I can look at how we wrote this and make sure we're going the same direction. It's going to be the same stuff. Now they both have angle B, so that means angle ABE is congruent to angle CBD. The order is important. What are the congruent sides? These are marked. But again, it's helpful to go in the right direction, the right order, and just looking at how we wrote that statement will get you there. AB is congruent to CB. BE is congruent to BD. And then I can either go EA or AE. It doesn't even matter. If I say AE, I would say CD. If I would have said EA, it would have been DC. I just follow the same order of letters and make sure I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, number 18, it gives me the triangles. It tells me what's going on. A is 50, J is 45, S is 16x plus 5. What's the value of x? So again, if we're looking at congruent triangles here, this angle that's 45 means this angle is also 45. So really, this is just a math problem, solving for x. All the degrees of a triangle are going to add up to 180. It's just a matter of, putting it back together. So 180 minus 50 is 130. I subtract 45. I'm going to have 85. So this is 16x plus 5 is equal to 85. There was one like this on the paper from last week, Friday. I subtract 5, that's 16x is equal to 80. So I divide by 16, x is equal to 5. A triangular shaped roof of a house has congruent legs. These are the legs. What is the measure of each of the two base angles? The key here is that both of them are the same. 180 minus 80 means I have 100 degrees between these two angles. And if they're both the same, I'm just going to divide that by 2. Each angle is 50. Just make sure when you do one, if there's one like this, that they add up to 180, because that's the only way it's going to work. Determine if the triangles are congruent by using side, 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 angle, or angle, angle, side. If not right, not congruent. This is going to be the part where you can use these notes. So make sure you track down these notes. If you don't have them, make sure you let me know before you start taking the test. For those of you going to the testing center, I will have these down there for you filled in already, and they'll let you use them. Okay? But you go through, you take a look, what does the picture look like? Here's side, side, side. All 3 of the sides are marked congruent. These, only 2 of them are marked congruent, but this last one has to be congruent to itself. This is side, side, side. On this one, I've got angle, angle, side, and angle, angle, side. So this is angle, angle, side. They're congruent. On these right here, on number 22, we have angle, angle, angle. It's one of the ones that is a special case. They're not necessarily congruent. They will be similar triangles, but they're not necessarily congruent. So this is just going to be, no, they're not congruent. On number 23, don't forget about these vertical angles. So we have side angle, side, side angle, side. This is side angle, side. And on this one, we have an angle marked. It's a right angle, but right angles are congruent to other right angles. We have a side marked, and then again, don't forget Forget about these vertical angles. What we have here is angle side angle. On the very back page, this again, it's all about like what's missing from this. If we know it, we can prove it. The FH is going to be congruent to itself, so we need to know that GH is congruent to DF. That will give us side, side, side. Just make sure you understand what it's asking for. The side, side, side ones are relatively simple. Side, angle, side, remember it needs to be the angle in between those two sides, or the angle formed by those two sides. So this is angle G and angle L. I'm looking for an angle side. Here's an angle side. It can't be angle L here, because that would give us angle side angle. It has to be angle J on this one, which means it has to be angle D here. Angle J is congruent to angle D. Angle side, again on this one, this side is congruent. It could be either one of these angles and still work, so I can almost guarantee there wouldn't be one like that on the test, because they'd have to count more than one multiple choice answer correct. Angle side angle here, again, it needs to be the side that touches both of those angles. UV is what I'm going to go with, because it goes from 1 hash mark to 2. So then CD is what I'm going to go with on this other one, because it goes from 1 to 2. And then angle side angle, we know this side's already congruent, so we need, this would be 2 marks here, this would be 2 marks here. And you'd have to use 3 letters on one like this. So this would be angle SRT, because there could be more than one just angle R. And on the other one, it would have to be HSR, angle HSR. And that would get you a good congruency on that according to angle side angle. All right, if there's any other questions, make sure you bring those by. Ask me, I'll get this posted, and good luck on your test.